Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for April 19th, 2020. So this week was a weird reading week for me. I think again I retreated to playing Animal Crossing and watching BookTube and stuff. I didn't really read a whole lot. I did complete 2 things and got really far into one thing, and then I still have a whole bunch of things still on the go, which is just not normal for me, except again I go through moods where I'm not reading very well. I start picking up books and trying them, and then I'll read a little bit of them, and then I don't know what to do, if I want to finish them or not. So let's go through the books that I completed, the ones I'm in the middle of that I'm actively reading, and then the ones that I kind of think I'm going to read in the next week, but not for sure. So I had started Heart of Obsidian by Nalini Singh, I believe last week, sometime on the weekend, I think. I don't remember actually. The days are running together with this whole working from home thing. But I did finish this early in the week. This was a reread. It's one of my favorites in the Side Changeling series by Nalini Singh. So this is a 18-book series right now that I love them. This is book 12, I believe. And this was, as I said, one of my favorites, and the one I was waiting for the most when I started this series. Like when we got about 3 or 4 in, I knew that I wanted this book. I mean, we didn't know who the heroine was going to be, but you know, but Caleb is just one of my favorite dark soul kind of guys. Anyway, so I can't really explain a whole lot about this because again it's within this Side Changeling world, which again is a paranormal romance urban fantasy that is following what are shifters, humans, and the Psy, who are people with psychic abilities, and they all consider themselves kind of different species. And so it's their vying for power in this world. And you know, I've talked about this a whole bunch. I've reread a whole bunch of the books over in the years. And this is just one of the ones I hadn't picked up in the last year or two. I don't think I read it last year, so I was kind of surprised. So I wanted to pick it up. So I read it. It was fun. It was great. I still love it. It's still one of my favorites. So that, I did read that. And then I was looking on my shelves and I was like, oh, should I read another of the Side Changeling books? I really wanted to. I almost picked up, which is kind of on the back, I kind of might pick up Visions of Heat, which is book number 2, which talks about Faith and Vaughn, which is the characters that showed up in Hearts of Obsidian. But I didn't. Instead, I went back to another paranormal romance series, The Shifters Unbound by Jennifer Ashley, and I haven't reread some of these in a really long time. And this is one of those series where I read the first 5 or 6 books. I think there's like 12 books out. And then I read a lot of the novellas all around it, because the first book I read was a novella that got me into the series that I've been thinking about. So the point is I wanted to reread the series to get back into it, and then to try to complete it or catch up, because a new book came out last month. I don't remember when I got Iron Master. It was last month or a couple months ago. I can't remember. Anyway, so this is urban fantasy, you know, the paranormal romance, or, you know, so it's like shifters have come out in the world 20 years before they were outed by somebody who was pissed off. Anyway, so then all the shifters have to take collars, which are made by Fey magic, and all the shifters were created many hundreds of years, thousands of years, I don't know, years ago by the Fae to be kind of like the animals, like sporting animals, and they broke free from that, but the Fae were pissed off, so they made this amulet that they are what's called the collar, that they all have to wear, and they live in shifter towns in different places in the world, and we're focusing on a couple of places in the US, mostly Austin, Texas, and in the first couple books, the first 2 books, first 3, well, 2 books and a couple of novellas, most of the novellas. Anyway, so I started with the first one, which is Pride Mates. I hadn't reread it in quite a while. I have reread it before, but it's been a while. So it follows Kim, who is a lawyer who is trying to defend a shifter who was accused of killing his girlfriend. And she doesn't think he did it, but he won't tell her where he was or what happened. At the time when his girlfriend had passed, had been killed. So she's working that angle. So she thinks she goes to Shifter Town to talk to Liam, who is considered like the go-to guy, who his dad is in charge of that Shifter Town, and so there's different shifts. There's lupines, which are the wolves. They are wildcats, so they're kind of a cross between lions and tigers and everything, like a kind of a mixture. But they're Liam is mostly lion, but not fully. But I mean, so it's kind of a mixture thing. Anyway, so there's bears as well. Anyway, so there's like all these different shifters. Again, I'm just explaining all this. I don't know why. Because I never heard anybody talk about this series. And it's one of those series where I've been thinking about it to go back and reread. So she goes to Liam to find out, to try to help get this other shifter, help his defense. And she gets kind of pulled into the world. And of course, they end up being really attracted to each other. And then, so there's the whole mating thing, which is the fun part of the shifter stuff. Anyway, there's a lot of, it's not a perfect book. I will not say that. It's not, I think as the world goes on, you learn more and more of the differences in the shifters and their politics and stuff. And I do like that. So, but the first book, I really enjoyed it. I'd forgotten some of it. Mostly I remembered it, but it was nice to reread it again. So I got through that. And then I picked up the second book right afterward, which is Primal Bonds. And this one is following Liam's brother. And he made claims or takes in a woman from another shifter town in far away, like for Colorado, and she comes to Austin, Texas, and he only takes her so that she has a place to come to, and that so he's pretty much helping out because her aunt is involved in the family. I won't say why because it comes in the first book. Anyway, so Andrea arrives, and she's half Fae, half shifter, so she's a very different mix, and not everybody trusts her, of course, but she's starting over, and Sean's really protective, and he has his own issues because he is what is called the guardian of the shifter town, which is a very important position, but very sad. So anyway, so let's look. Anyway, there's a whole lot of Fae things in this one too. In this one, in as well as some of the shifter politics, and it's good fun. So I made it. Well, I was hoping to finish yesterday, but of course I did not. I only got to 206, so it's just under 300 pages. So I have about 100 pages left. Well, about 90 pages really. So I'll probably finish this today. Again, these are not my favorite. I do reread them. They're still on the list of series that I like to reread. So, and Jennifer Ashley is one of my favorite authors. I read like 3 or 4 of her series, and I have quite a few, trilogies and things. I have one series I have not tried of hers that I keep putting off, but I need to do that. But anyway, so I'm gonna I might continue. So going into what books I just want to state really quickly. The novella that comes after this one is called Bodyguard. And that is the first book I read by her in this series. I'd read another book of hers when I found this series. But I found Bodyguard first was on sale on Kindle, and I had gotten it. So I have it on Kindle. I didn't get it out to show you, but I probably will next week, because I'll probably be reading it right after this one, because it's a novella and it follows one of the bears, and it is my favorite one of this series still, even though it was the first book. I don't know why. The first book I read, even though it wasn't the first book. Anyway, maybe it's just because I like bears in the shifter worlds. Anyway, so I'm not sure if I will continue past that in the series past that. I really do want to reread a couple more of the books to get myself back into it, and then read the books that I own that I've never read. But I don't know. Again, I'm having issues with new stuff. So let's go through the stuff I'm in the middle of. I did read some of a Journal of the Plague Year by Daniel Defoe, published in 1722 about the 1665 plague. And still, every time I read this, it talks about something that is so relevant to today that is just amazing. Even though it's a different situation of a plague, it's still the same things they're trying to enact, the same things that we are by our, shelter in place and staying home and away from other people and not getting too close to anybody. And then those people who don't, how the repercussions, and the ones who run, who go outside when they're not supposed to and spread because they don't look like they're sick. So, they spread it. And it's very, very, so interesting, but I can only read his writing style for so long before my brain just goes, weird, done. And I'm about 170. Again, it's like 240 about. So I have 70 pages more. And I'm just hoping to get done by the end of the month. I just can't guarantee that because I pick it up and I'll read 10 to 20 pages in one day. And then I don't pick it up for 4 to 7 days. So I picked this up, I think, on Thursday. And so I got a little bit done on this. And then I think about 21 or 2 pages. So I'm going to, as I said, this next week, hopefully pick it up twice and maybe get pretty good chunks of it. I just don't know if I can finish it by the end of the month, but I'm going to try. I still think this is a really good fictionalized version, a fake history of what happened. I think it's just so realistic considering it is really slow, and again, the writing is from 1722, so it's not the punctuation and the spelling and the capitalization is all messed up. But I still think it's just an important read if you can read that, like right now. Like, again, I can only read it every once in a while, and then, but I can't read it straight. I still find it very fascinating, and I'm glad I picked that one up. I am still listening to Benjamin Franklin by Walter Isaacson. This is narrated by Nelson Rudger. Still really enjoying this. I am about 175 pages in now. So I'm about a third. So I'm making progress. I think I still have 16 hours on this. So 16 or 17 hours. So I listen to it in my car most of the time. And I only drive on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the morning to work for a few hours. So I'm not getting a whole lot. I did listen to it a little bit on Tuesday. I think I came home from Tuesday. No, I think Wednesday I actually listened to this while I was working. I had a project that didn't take my mind to, it was all kind of data stuff that I didn't have to follow what it was doing. It was just mind numbing. So I listened to this and got a little bit more done. So I'm making progress. It's taking a while. And again, this is the next book in my presidential biographies, though it is not one of the presidents. I'm taking books that are around in that time period of important figures. And I just had never read anything by Ben Franklin or about Ben Franklin like himself. Like he's always in the middle of books. I've already read about Washington and John Adams, and I know he'll be in the one with several of the other ones, so I just wanted to read that. I did start Showa 1953 to 1989, A History of Japan by Shigeru Mizuki. So I've read a couple of these, was it last month or the month before? Maybe February. Which, again, they're mangas that are about history of the Showa era. So I've read the first 3 volumes already. This is the 4th and final. So as I said, I just got started. I think I only read, about 45 pages. So I just really started. They're over 500 pages, and they talk about what's going on in Japan, in the world, related to Japan, and then also about Mizuki when he, as his life as relating to everything. So you get kind of him, and then so it's part memoir, part history kind of thing. So these have been fantastic, and I highly recommend them if you like to read mangas, and then also just for Japanese history for the Showa period. It's just been a really good. So I'm hoping to get this done here pretty soon. in the next, hopefully by the end of the month. I just don't pick it up all the time. Obviously, I picked this up, I think, Thursday, and I haven't touched it since. But I will try to get this done. Again, it's a library book, so I don't know when my library is going to reopen again. I'm just trying to get to some of the ones that I've gotten from that. So, as I said, I'm probably going to read, to going forward into the week, I'm probably going to continue with the Shifters Unbound series and probably read, 2.5 Bodyguard, because I really want to read that one. I love Rowan. Anyway, again, it's just the whole, I like bear shifters, the stories with them. Anyway, so I'm going to probably read that, but like I said, I don't know if I'm going to continue linearly through the series after that. I guess I didn't say that, but I meant I might not. The next 2 books are not my favorites. There's stuff in them that I still might reread, like parts of them, so I might not count them as rereads. I might just dip in and read the climaxes of the story of what carries on into the next book, because I know the next one I think the next 2 are the ones I'm just kind of not as much into, but I want to read all the novellas in the between, so I might read a lot of those next week. So might be a lot of Kindle next week. You'll see my iPad. Not fun. Anyway, but we'll see how far I take that. I might get bored and switch over. As I said, I have backup going back to the Side Changeling series by Neil Singh, so I don't know, I might do that. I then have several books that I've started. I still have not come back to The Sorrows of Young Werther by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. I still don't know how to say that. Anyway, but as I said, I really don't like this, what I read. And I'm still 46 pages in of like 100 and 120, 130. I don't know. I'm not sure. So that one's kind of back burnerish. I don't know. I still have this, and it's really funny. I paused it. I got 42 pages in. I was not hating it. I just wasn't loving it, but there was no problem with it. There was nothing. It was just, I set it down to start rereading again. My brain just went, no, I'd rather reread. And I don't know if it's just me. I think it's just me. So I don't know what to do with this, if I'm going to actually get to it, since I still have it from the library. I guess hopefully I'll break out of this, reread and maybe get back to that. Again, that's more urban fantasy about Hell's library and the Library of the Unwritten, which is the unpublished works or unwritten or completed works that authors have done throughout the years are in this library, and sometimes the books escape trying to get their authors to write them, and it doesn't go so badly. And there's a lot of other hell and heaven and that kind of stuff. It was just fun. I just can't get into it yet. And I have heard mixed reviews about the book, so I don't know. I don't think that's my problem. I think really it is. I just couldn't concentrate. And then I just did my try chapter, my oldest books on my TBR edition, and so I did that video yesterday, so you might want to check that out. But one of the books, the one I really want to pick up is From a Buick 8 by Stephen King. So this is probably on the docket somewhere. I'm just flashing it because I might pick this up. It's horror, but it's about a young teenager who starts working around the area of a barracks of a state trooper division. And there's something weird in Shed B has a Buick Roadster, and what happened when 20 years ago it showed up. And I don't know what is going to happen. I've never heard anybody talk about this one, and I've had this on my shelf since 2002. So it's on my list. I don't know if I'll get to it. It's on. I just wanted to kind of say it's kind of in the list. It could happen too. It matters how I feel about the Shifters Unbound after I finish Primal Bonds and Bodyguard. So that's it, I think. Enough. I know. My numbers were not bad this week. They were pretty average, actually. I'm always hoping I'm gonna read a whole bunch because I'm home most of the time. And I've been very lucky. I'm very surprised at how much of my job has worked out being at home. I mean, there's still things I miss, and I wish that I was more on hand, like there to do stuff. But really, just going in for a couple hours on Tuesday and Thursday has given me something to go out as well. This week was I got to go grocery shopping. I get to go grocery. That was fun. Yesterday, that was, you know, I made it through, but it was just like, it was my outing. Like the only time I went out this weekend, or will. And then I won't go out again until Tuesday to go to work in the morning for a few hours. It's a weird time. And I mean, I just want to say that I'm very lucky that I am still working, and I'm really surprised at how well I can do it from home for the most part. I mean, there's ups and downs, but it works. So that is it. What are you guys reading? How are you reading? I mean, I am just this whole this rereading. I mean, I love rereading. I've always loved rereading, and I've gone through periods of my life where I did like a whole month of rereading easily, no problem. I could do it again. And it's like I'm trying right now. I keep trying to I'm trying not to force myself to read new stuff, but every time I pick something up, after I do that, the first thing I want to do is pick up a reread, and I'm not finishing anything that's new to me right now. So I don't know how long this is going to continue. I'm just going to write it and just find things that I am allowed to, my brain will let me read, and I will play a lot of Animal Crossing. So other than that, how are your guys' reading going? What are you reading? Are you able to pick up new books? Are you just like taking advantage of a lot of time at home, or what? I mean, I said my reading is about the same, even though I'm more rereading than reading. Anyway, so let me know how you guys are doing, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.